We're going to go from this to this, from this to this, from this to this, from this to this. In the next 7 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how we build a 13-week cash flow forecast for a fashion brand, week by week, every cash gap visible before it hits, so you can stop making decisions off of your bank balance and gut feeling. We are the financial team at Warrior Group behind 250 plus fashion brands doing 5 to 75 million. The most expensive problem we see at this level are brands running out of cash that they didn't know they were about to run out of. This is something that we build for our clients every single day. It's the first thing that we give them. It's the most valuable thing we give them so they can make decisions with confidence and know exactly what will be in their bank account for weeks and weeks and months to come. And today we're giving that away for free so that you're able to do the same thing, even if you don't have any experience in cash flow forecasting. All right, let's get into this. So we are Warrior Group and we are the finance team behind 250 plus fashion brands. And by far, the biggest thing that we always make sure we take care of in the first 30 days is a cash flow forecast. It is the most valuable tool for any fashion brand making decisions about inventory, about hiring, about opening up a new warehouse, so that you're not guessing what your bank balance will be, but you actually know with visibility that what will happen. All right, so I'm going to give you guys an overview of this model. And we're going to start here of what we're going to get to. This is the end result. You're able to see what your opening bank balance is today, what your cash flow forecast will look like, what the 13-week cash flow will be like. The total inflow is 1.3 million in this case, and total outflows over here, 1.182, which is a net cash movement over a 13-week period of $82,000. You're able to see what your closing balances on your cash flow in 13 weeks and also your lowest cash amount, so you know how to prepare for it. This is just a nice table over here of week by week what the date is and what your closing balance will be, so you know how to prepare for it. That's what we're going to get to. The way that we actually get to this moving backwards is by filling all of this out week by week from all of our cash in, from our revenue sources, whether it be Shopify, wholesale, retail, our cash out on inventory, our cash out on payroll and people, our cash out on marketing and advertising, and our cash out on fixed overhead, so that we end up with a net cash position. So this is very different than a budget. A cash flow forecast is very different than a budget. It's a common misconception that they're the same thing. A budget are the goals for your team for the year. This is actually based on the invoices, based on the outflows and inflows of cash, what will be your bank balance. We also have here a PO table so that you can see what the payments you have to make for inventory, what deposits you have to put down, how long is your lead time, so you're not guessing and doing all this mental math in your head. And obviously we have our assumptions, which is where we're going to start off. And that's what we're going to get into right now. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to start on our assumptions tab and we're going to fill in the brand name. So I'm going to say it's company ABC over here. The forecast start date, we're just going to start from 4/23/2026 because that's the date that I'm doing this. Our opening bank balance, this is the actual amount that's in your bank account today when you're starting the forecast, not what you think tomorrow, not yesterday. You should be able to pull it up, or you could sum up the bank balances on your phone. Let's say that it's $500,000. Fantastic. And if I have a minimum cash alert, this is when I want to be notified of if I'm getting low on my cash. We're going to put that at $75,000. You should think about this as maybe a couple months of payroll, or if you're doing big inventory orders, you don't want to go below that amount. Too much cash is not a good thing. Too little cash is also not a good thing either. Over here, we're going to have our return rate. That's a percentage of our gross revenue. We can make an assumption here if you don't have the exact number. Otherwise, your accountant, CFO, bookkeeper should be able to give it to you, or your Shopify report. So let's just assume a return rate of 20%. We're going to have fulfillment and shipping as a percentage of revenue. Those are the pick, pack, ship costs as a percentage of what we're doing. That should probably be in the 5% mark. We're also going to have payment processing fees. This is credit card, Stripe, all those items, usually about 3 to 4%. And then we also have chargebacks. We're going to just estimate that at 1%. And again, these don't have to be super exact numbers, but if your accountant has those numbers, it's going to be helpful. So you can either use your accountant, bookkeeper, or your fractional CFO. Okay, on the cost structure. So this is what our vendors, what our vendors and our suppliers are actually making us put in as a percentage of deposit when we order. For simplicity, we're going to do 50% when you make the order and then 50% when you get it. We're going to assume, for simplicity, an average lead time of 3 weeks here. So this is how we're taking into account the actual cash flow of how much money do I have to put out when I make an order, then when it lands, and how long will it take in between those two times. We're also going to have our fixed cost assumptions. So let's say our payroll is about $50,000 a month, and our rent and facilities are maybe $25,000 a month. Those are your warehouses and things like that. Let's say we pay our marketing agency $15,000 a month. Software and tech is $10,000 a month for all your subscriptions. And let's just assume the same thing for insurance and professional fees. And then miscellaneous overhead, we'll put in another $5,000. Again, every brand is different. And then obviously for marketing, which is super important, we're going to assume that 5% of your revenue goes towards all the marketing streams. So with that, we have everything filled out over here for our assumptions. Then we're going to go next to our purchase order entry table. So I have a few sample ones laid out here, but what we want to do is understand our total PO value and the dates of them. And then what this financial forecast is doing is it's actually giving us, we already assumed a 3-week lead time. So therefore, what week is it going to show up? How much of a deposit do we have to put down? We put in 50-50, but this could be something else. What's our total PO value? And so on. So I'm going to assume that we have a $500,000 order. For the first one, it'll split up to $250. Then I'm going to assume another $250,000 order. And then I'll put a couple of $100,000 orders for you guys. And that will be able to tell us how we split up the deposit and balance. And then when we actually land and we have freight and duties, I'm going to put another $5,000 for each of these just as a rough assumption. And that'll give us all of our orders on inventory. And you can see that here. Okay, now with all of our assumptions done, what we're going to do is go to the 13-week forecast. This, to me, is where all the magic happens. So what you have on the top here is each week. So we have 13 weeks here and then a total, starting from whatever date that you decide, and it's updated each week. And what we're going to do is we're really going to take a look at our inflows of cash and our outflows of cash to determine what our bank balance is going to be. So we're going to start with our cash in between our different revenue streams. So if we have our Shopify and then wholesale and retail, then we have all, that'll give us our total cash in that we're going to expect. Then we're going to have our cash out on inventory. We're going to have our cash out on payroll and people. We're going to have our cash out on marketing and advertising and our fixed overhead. And then we're going to come up with our net cash position at the bottom here. And that's going to be the most powerful thing that we see. And this is something that, again, your fractional CFO or yourself, you can update this weekly. So first, we're going to start off with Shopify gross sales. Again, you could either take an average, or if you understand seasonality, or if you have rough budgets in place, or if you want to do it based on your Shopify or QuickBooks invoices that are coming up. Really just depends on how you guys think about your revenue. This is obviously something that your fractional CFO can help you do. So let's just assume that we're going to have $100,000 for a few weeks, and then seasonality is going to spike. So we're going to have $25,000, and then maybe we'll have $250,000. And again, these are for a few weeks. And then again, it's seasonal. So maybe you have $10,000 weeks, and then a $75,000 week. And this is where things get a little bit harder to predict the further out you get, but you can definitely take an approach that you feel conservative about. And what we're doing over here, just zooming in for you guys, is we're making sure that we're taking into account our returns and refunds, that 20% of revenue, and the processing, fulfillment, and chargeback costs that we had in our assumptions tab. So we know the net cash that's going to actually come out of the revenue. So we're going to see what's going to actually go in our bank. Next, we're going to go to wholesale receivables. Again, depending on the time, this is going to be a little bit lumpy, but let's just assume $50,000 a week and just forecast that across. Maybe on the retail side, we have a smaller retail presence. So we're going to assume $25,000. Then we can assume $10,000. And then we could even bring it back up to $35,000 for a few weeks. And again, you guys can input this whatever way that you want to ensure that it reflects your business. And let's just say that we have other cash in. Someone gave us a loan for $100,000, maybe from a bank, and maybe we had an investment somewhere along the way of $50,000. This is where you account for those items. And so now with that, what we have here is our total cash in between the three different revenue streams of $146,000, which is great. And then we can see here that it's about a $2.3 million inflow over 13 weeks. And if you guys forgot the metrics that you put inside of the assumptions tab, they're over here as well. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our cash out. And the first thing is going to be inventory, which the good news is you don't have to do anything, because if you filled out the PO entry table that we have here, then these are already filled out. So obviously the first thing we're looking at is we have a couple weeks of nothing, but then we place our first order in May that we have to put 50% down on. That's $250,000. Then we have a $50,000 coming up on that $100,000 order. And then we have a couple of orders coming up that we have to place $125,000 on. And then here we can see the balance payments. This 250 is the other one from this table, then your 50 and your 125, as well as your freight and duty. So this is all calculated for you. If you do have other inventory costs, if you want to add in $10,000, per month, that's fine. You can make those adjustments here as well. And that'll give us our inventory. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to actually go through our payroll, which again, you don't have to do anything, because if our payroll is $50,000 a month, over these 4 weeks, we're putting in $50,000. If you have contractors and freelancer payments, let's just say it's $10,000 for simplicity over here. Maybe we can do it twice a month. And you add that as well. And again, everybody has different cash flow timings. And that'll give us our total payroll cash out. So we're looking at about $35,000. So it looks like $70,000 a month with our contractors and our fixed payroll. Now, we have marketing and advertising here too. So good news here as well is that we already have 5% of the revenue going towards the paid media, and we already have our retainer built in for once a month. But if you have influencer and PR spend, then you are going to add that in here. If we could do it at, let's say, $10,000, maybe once a month. And that way we know we're set there. And if we have other marketing costs, maybe $1,000, you want to up the ad spend per week or something like that, we can have that here as well. And that'll give us our total marketing cash outflows by week, so there's no surprises. Our fixed overhead is fixed, so there's no issues here on a weekly basis. Usually the rent is due once a month. Software and tech usually also do. If you need to stagger those, you can do that as well. But that's what it would be. If you do have loan payments, so you have to pay a loan or big CapEx investments or things like that. Maybe you have to pay $100,000 back to someone. You can bring that in here too. And that should be projected in here as well. And that way, you're taking into account all the cash outflows. And then obviously we do have a little miscellaneous stuff here as well. Okay. Doing all that, we have our total cash out by week over here. And now we're seeing that we started off with $500,000, depending on the week. After we go through all of our cash in and cash out, week one, we had a $23,000 net cash, and week two is at $93,000. And then we lost $121,000 in week three. But we're able to see our closing cash position here by week, every single week, so that you're confident in what's going to happen in the business. And obviously we're seeing here that overall the trajectory is going up. And so then when I take a look at the output over here, what's actually coming down is that I know my opening bank balance of $500,000. I know that I had $2.3 million in cash in and $1.9 million of cash out. That's a net $415,000 over 13 weeks. My closing cash balance is $915,000. I know my lowest cash week was $332,000. And I could see a nice, neat table over here showing me everything that I need to know on my cash for 13 weeks. So this is what we do for our clients in the first 30 days. If it's something that this is totally free, our gift to you, you're able to take this template. You can follow this video. You can do it yourself. It takes probably about 15, 20 minutes a week. If you're having issues getting your inputs, if it's something that you don't have budgets on, you can't forecast the averages and whatever else, it's our gift to you, absolutely free. And if this is something that was helpful, we'd love to hear from you. Book the free strategy call. We're happy to go through other tactics that we've used for 250 plus other fashion brands just like yours, and looking forward to seeing you in the next video.